Alright, so in this video, we're looking at the entire pathway of cell respiration, starting with glucose. Cell respiration begins with glucose, or some other molecule that we can break down. Now, the process of breaking down glucose is called glycolysis. So there's glucose, there's glycolysis. We're going to just check these off as we go. Glucose can be broken down by glycolysis. Now, where does that happen? It occurs not in the mitochondria, but in that place inside the cell we call the cytoplasm. Now, glycolysis can make a couple of different things. It's going to make some coenzymes, some ATP, and another product. The main thing here is the fact that it's going to make 2 ATP. We get a little bit of energy out of it. This is going to produce a net gain of 2 ATP as well as a couple NADH. For purposes of our course, we don't really care about the coenzymes. We just want to know how much energy are we getting, and maybe where do the other products go. Those 2 other molecules, when glycolysis happens, it breaks down glucose into 2 molecules of pyruvate. There's our pyruvate. Check off my other items here, the NADH and the cytoplasm. Okay, so where do we go next? Well, if we're going to go through the aerobic respiration pathway, let's see what happens. Pyruvate can be oxidized to make acetyl-CoA. Acetyl-CoA in aerobic respiration goes into the Krebs cycle. Krebs cycle is where we start to get even more energy produced. Not a lot of energy, just a couple ATP. 2 ATP. You're also going to make a couple of other molecules, the coenzymes NADH and FADH. This will make 6 NADH and 2 FADH. Again, the main thing we're looking at is ATP. What are the big steps? How much ATP do they make? Glycolysis made 2, Krebs cycle made 2. What else happens in this stage? Well, this is where we get some carbon dioxide released. And check off some of these. All right. Now, because aerobic respiration is aerobic respiration, it's going to require the presence of oxygen. It requires oxygen. All of these products, a little bit of ATP and FADH and NADPH, that all goes into the electron transport chain, or ETC. This happens in the mitochondrial matrix. For our purposes of our course, we're just going to say mitochondria. All right, that's the main pathway if we go through the aerobic stuff. I'm going to switch colors because what happens if we start doing things anaerobically? Just realized I made a little error here. It occurs in the mitochondria. Let me get that so we can actually read it. Okay, so this makes 36 ATP or so. Lots of ATP. Now we can go look at the anaerobic pathway. If we did glycolysis and we made our pyruvate, instead of going through aerobic respiration, we could go through anaerobic respiration. And we generally call that the process of something like fermentation. Human cells can do this, especially muscle cells, and then other things like bacteria and yeast are very good at fermentation. Fermentation is going to produce other products such as ethanol or perhaps lactic acid. And there you go. That's the general overview. For purposes of our course, we want to know what's the first step. You're going to break down glucose. That can turn into pyruvate, and it can go through aerobic respiration, which goes through Krebs cycle and ETC, or the pyruvate can go through anaerobic processes and go through fermentation. That's the general overview.